Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Fat Friend chat. Today we have Claire Duty, who is the founder of Copper Union. Um, and I'm really excited because I think a lot of us in fat bodies have had frustration where we're like, well, I'm just gonna make clothes, or why is it so hard? And I think that in knowing Claire and seeing how things work, and in my own experience with trying to make clothing as a non-designer, I learned a lot of valuable lessons. And the thing is, it costs a lot of money. So I'm really excited to dig into this conversation. Welcome, Claire Duty. Will you give us a little intro of who you are?
You don't know my body, don't tell me how it works now. I wanna say sorry for how I make it work out. No, I let myself, all my curves run. Fat self-care, only movement in my world now.
Yeah, I'm very glad to be here. Like I said, I'm Claire Duty. I'm the owner and designer of Copper Union. Copper Union will turn 10 in April. So my background is in, I studied costume design and fiber arts in undergrad, and then did jewelry design for 7 years, and then went back to school because I'm one of those, people that when I was a little girl, I was like, I want to be a fashion designer. I want to make clothes. And then I went into jewelry design and then just like had a complete life schism and was like, what am I doing? I want to be doing what I've been wanting to do since I was a small child. And went back to school, got a certificate in apparel design. And yeah, then launched the culmination of my program was launching my line, which was in 2014 of April 12th. And yeah, so I've been doing Copper Union for 10 years or almost 10 years. And it is a complete passion project and my heart living outside my body. And I'm very glad that I can make, as I say, beautiful clothing for radical fat bodies, because I've always lived in one. And I am almost 40. I'll be 40 in April too. And so for me, it's like part of it is making the things that I wanted when I was little that I didn't get. And part of it is making amazing things that I want as a 40-year-old human, or nearly 40. Yeah, that's my spiel for now.
Love it. And I think, 10 years is like quite a feat of owning a business of any kind, but I think especially what I know about clothing brands and how they come and go, and they're hard to keep going, is like fucking amazing that you're doing it. And what I love most about what you've done is this last year you opened a brick and mortar shop that people can make one-on-one appointments for, and it's like all masks so everybody feels really safe. But I outside of like a Torrid or a Lane Bryant, I can't remember a time where I walked into a store and and I could fit every single thing. And that's like such a special feeling. And I think some people still haven't ever experienced that.
Totally. And that's, as someone who has basically worked in retail, my mom's best friend owned a shop, and like I worked under the table when I was too young. So since I was little, I loved retail. Like I literally, when I was 10, she had a cash register that wasn't working. Anyone's from Washington would know. She used to own the store Made in Washington, which was like in all of our malls. And it's just like beautiful handmade objects, but it definitely is like a throwback to the 90s. If you're from Washington, you know that shop. But yeah, when I was 10, she was throwing away cash register because it wouldn't work. And so I like took it myself, and then would like play store. And so as someone who loves retail but also has been pained by retail for so long, it was really important to me to have a space because I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but like the Torrid in our mall in Portland, in the city proper, closed. And that was just like ridiculous to me. I mean, I know malls are dying. It is not the same as it used to be, but it just was like the fact that I would have to go 30 minutes away from my house to get to a Torrid to like buy some underwear in person just was ridiculous. So I knew that I didn't really know how it would go. And it, so I'm tripping over my own words. I don't have the traditional brick and mortar, as in, like, I'm not on a busy street. I'm in a warehouse district. It's next to my studio. It's in the same building as that. But I thought about it and I'm like, all plus size shopping is destination shopping. We go to Torrid, we go to Lane Bryant, we go to wherever the store is because that's where we know we can find things. And so I was like, I'm just going to test it and see how this goes. And it is going so much better than I thought it would be, just because the interactions that I get to have with people, whether they're customers or new people or, strangers who are in town and randomly decide to come and make an appointment, it's like such a healing experience for everyone involved, myself, them, their partners, if they bring them, or their friends, or even their mothers. Like, I've had people come out of the dressing rooms and cry. I've had people literally dance out of the dressing rooms. I've had people like take videos in there to send to their friends. I've had friends who are people who are fat who bring their skinny friends, and then they get jealous that they can't buy things and they can buy accessories. But yeah, it's such an important thing. And I wish that everyone had that opportunity in their community and in their town. And it's really sad and disappointing that that doesn't exist for the majority of fat people in the world.
Yeah, I think what you also do that's really special in the store is it's like kind of a community store as well. So it's not just Copper Union, but like I love Katie Designs underwear, and like I can go see underwear and I can try robes on and different. You can't try the underwear on because you got solo,
You could
but
try the bralettes on
you
and
can
like,
you can feel the fabric. Like
yeah.
I didn't realize how important it was, and I think the more I like mask less and land in my neurodivergence more, I'm like I'm a fabric person. So like an annoying fabric, it doesn't matter how pretty it is or how well it fits, I'm going to not ever reach for it because it is itchy or it's weird or whatever. And I feel like A, you take a lot of care in the fabrics that you choose, but B, I can go feel it and look at it and like assess if that's gonna be nice. Like, I think you give people choice, which we don't really have all the time, and that is like something you take for granted when you have access to it, but when you don't, it's like such a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is definitely I feel the same way, because like I am such a fabric nerd, and it's really important for me to make sure that everyone gets that experience, because like shopping online, sure, it's great, and like we all did a lot of it during the pandemic, and it I'm glad that that exists, because like growing up, like we didn't shop on the internet. I didn't shop at Torrid until I think I was maybe in like late middle school, maybe early high school, because like there wasn't even one around me. And just yeah, the fact that I can provide so many choices. I have 5 other brands in the shop besides my own, and just like limited selection on most of them just because of space. And a lot of designers don't have the inventory to stock a store like that, or depending on what kind of model and how they sell things. But to me, it's so important because I am such a tactile fiber nerd. I was like, I love to touch everything, and like that's the first thing that I do when I go into stores. Even if I know that nothing will fit me in there, then I just start turning things inside out and looking at the construction and seeing how they made it or seeing what they do. And like, I'm totally a nerd about it. So for me, it's exciting to be able to tell people and watch people interact with it in person, and not because it's not something that is possible for everyone to make a gigantic order online knowing they're going to return some of it, or knowing that 75% of it's going back or whatever it is. And so it's nice to also be able to tell people like, hey, there's 2 of these and I don't have any more of this fabric because I do really small batches of things. Or it can be like, hey, I'm going to have this thing for the next 6 months or a year, like, and they'll come back, and they know that like it's not scarcity and like, if I don't buy everything right now, I will never see this again in my life. And so yeah, I think a great way that you said it really is like choice. And it's like you can pick which items you want. You don't have to grab all of them and run just because you are worried that you'll never be able to do this again.
And I do think because a lot of us do have that like internalized scarcity because there really weren't options. And like, I know I'll hoard clothing, not clothing that doesn't fit me anymore, thank goodness, but just like stuff that's like not really my style anymore, or that like is really nice, but I don't like it, but it's like, it's nice and it fits me, so I should have it.
Mm-hmm.
You do a good job of being like, hey, there's only a few of these. Like, this is real. Like, you don't, which I think, yeah, there's some things going around with another brand in the community where they're like kind of using that marketing tactic. And I think there is already enough scarcity that we experience just in the small availability that we have, depending on the size that our bodies are in the range. Like, I'm like the outskirts of Torrid. So for me, sometimes I get so lost in the idea that like I'll never have another one, that it is so nice that you give people that without the false scarcity of like, I want you to buy this. So I'm going to tell you that there's only one, but there's 25. And the other thing is that I love that you are bringing things that historically people can't touch. Like, you have some taggings that people don't, as taggings is clothing, you still have something. I know, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's like so nice that like I at least get my last pick of the litter because I can go look at it. Or like Proud Mary is in LA, and I love that I can like sort through a couple of those items that I'm like, I've always wanted to like see that. I wonder how the fit is. Even
Totally.
Lisa, like, you have the giant lockets, and I really wanted to see those before I bought one because I was worried it wouldn't fit. And so I love just having all of that access right in the store. What are like some of your favorite parts of having a brand for plus bodies? Like, what are the top things that are like, this is what keeps me going?
The customers, definitely. And not in like the way that like they literally keep me going because they are buying things and continuing the business cycle. But um for me, something that was really hard during the pandemic was not having that interaction with people because I'm an immunocompromised cancer survivor, so I have to be super careful. And like, I wasn't doing in-person events, I wasn't doing anything. I mean, the majority of the world wasn't, but so it was really hard because like I didn't have that interaction with people. And seeing people like literally being able to make someone feel joyful in their clothing is the biggest driving force for me. Fat joy. And I think that because I'm a huge fabric nerd, I think that being able to like find and source mostly dead stock fabrics, which are fabrics that like are remnants from other designers, or fabric that are basically like leftovers, which like sounds like no one wants them, but there's unfortunately fashion is a very wasteful, typically wasteful, what's the word?
Industry.
Thank you. My brain was like system, and I'm like, fashion's not a system, but obviously it's the end of the day and it's kind of melting out of my ears. But it is, I really like to use dead stock because I love to have, not in the scarcity model, but I love to have limited things because we don't get that as fat people. Name or think of the number of times you've gone to a party and you're like, cool, glad you're wearing that dress too. Or I wore that yesterday. Or like, when you interact with other fat people, there's times that it's just like, oh, I want a dress that's one of a kind. Oh, I want something that is individual and unique. And like, I'm with fibers and fabric and patterns, like I'm a huge lover of patterns and things. And we don't get that all the time. And plus, or we do, but in the way of like, hey, did you see that we gave you a Betsy Johnson collection 20 years later than any of you wanted it? But we're here with roses and skulls.
It's
No shame,
Marilyn
roses and skulls.
Monroe
I
collection that is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I appreciated Torrid and all of that at a certain point in my life, but like my style has expanded beyond that. And not saying that anything is wrong if that is where people are comfortable and that is what like they find and that's what brings them joy. Cause like that's all I'm looking for is like joy made out of fabric. And that's I don't know if that actually answered your question completely.
No, I did because it's like I think the people part and like being able to really get to interact with your customers, but also they become your friends because it's such a shared experience of like either I know even with you, like I remember one time I went to your house and you're like, oh, try this on and try that on. And I almost started crying because I just never have had that. And like that's how the store feels. It feels like you're at your friends. I mean, it feels like a store, but it also feels like because you're helping people like okay, what's your style? You know, you're getting some styling support that I
Oh,
think
totally. It's
normally is like they don't know how to talk. Like they don't. You don't know about a belly. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I love to do because like I have done a whole range of styling from like working for other companies and doing, like in-person styling at their locations and working for I helped with like fashion shows and I've helped develop other companies and do other things within it that for me it was so important to be like I love to push people and stretch their fashion boundaries and stretch their style boundaries a little bit. I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. And I think something that is kind of I have never had it happen to me in a space like this, but something I will ask a lot of times when people come in for the first time, instead of like, oh, well, like, what kind of stuff do you like? What I'm like, what don't you like? Tell me the colors you don't like. Tell me the patterns you don't like. Tell me what part of your body you might not want to show off. Tell me what, doesn't make you feel comfortable, because then I can actually open up and be like, oh, cool. I can think of so many things that you probably wouldn't have said. I like this, but for me, it works way better to know the constraints and know where I can push and where I can, respect in ways that we don't typically. I don't feel like that is an experience, not even just for plus size people, that people don't get in store. And it's not that I'm like wanting to start with negative things, but it more so is I don't want to give you a negative experience. So why am I like, I need to know what I need to avoid.
totally. And I think when you say that, it also helps people get out of their own head about what I should wear, what I think looks good on me. Like, there's a few things in your shop. Like, I've never actually had a good caftan that like fit really well. And I just recently got that one. Um, by the way, there's some really cute caftans and random
Just
things
be
on
like, they're on sale.
it. I got on sale because
And it's rated in Portland.
I love a bargain. But I was in my mind, I was like, I'm only gonna wear this in the summer. I'm just like getting this on sale. And then because I was like, the fabric is gonna be too cold, but like in my house, I keep it too warm anyway. And I was like, what have I been doing my whole life? But also, I've tried a lot of caftans on that were like, right, like they didn't fit right. And so I just stopped trying them because I was tired of the like form-fitting caftan with the weird side
Like
panel.
side seams with like butterfly
How do
arms.
they do that? So
It's because it's what they think in their heads, like what people want. And realistically, I'm like, I can create that silhouette with a belt on my own. I don't need you to belt me in, please. And yeah, with the caftans, like that is one, I feel like that's a perfect example of something that I love to do that. So I'm a very solid 3X, been a 3X for years and years and years, and like very solid 3X in most brands, except for brands that need help with their grading, but that's another story. And for me, the caftans are split sizes. And so I can wear a large, extra large, a 1-2, or a 3-4. And that's like, I designed it that way because I'm like, if I want it to be closer to my body and feel like it's a dress and wear it out to dinner, I'll wear the large, extra large. If I want to wear it at home, because I made one out of flannel for myself and it's like my winter cozy thing that I always wear, like, and I just throw on a flannel caftan. It's like, I am wearing a blanket that looks slightly more presentable. So it just is, I like being able to play around with shapes and knowing, having lived in a plus size fat body for my whole life, and also having, I started making clothes for myself when I was probably like 12. So I've really honed in fit on plus bodies, and really fit and fabric are the key things within like my design choices that are always first and always the most important, because we don't need any more ill-fitting things in our lives.
Tell me about it. So when you fit, right, do you have specific fit testers, or what is like your fit process that you can tell us that's not like this top secret info?
Um, my lips are sealed. I can't say anything. I'm totally kidding. So it is something that I've developed over the years to be very flexible, because I think that that is something that's super important, because I will definitely and things changed dramatically during the pandemic just because I wasn't able to work with my production team. I wasn't able to work outside my home. I wasn't able to do any of it. So I had to become very creative. And one of those things was I became the face of Copper Union, and I became Copper Union's main fit model and the base of all patterns, which like were not two things I ever thought I would do or want to do, but it propelled my business in such a different direction that like, and like has been it was a horrible gift. So for like development and the way that I do that, like I will a lot of designers will look at their own patterns what already exist, and sometimes choose to, start with the basis of those and then develop up from there, or it can be something that is totally brand new. And so it kind of depends if I'm like, oh hey, like I came up, so like I'm wearing, this is the tie dress, it's one of the classic ones, and it's just like a very simple, has a little gathered waist, sort of sweetheart style, not sweetheart, baby doll. There's the brain is not working. And like I wanted to develop a new one of this. So it's like I dropped the neckline, I did a flutter sleeve, I did a tie in the waist, I put pockets in, I made the skirt shorter. And so those sort of things I can fit on my own and know that that will still work. But I'm 5'6". I love to design things. Anna is one of my dear friends. She's 6'3". One of my best friends is 6 foot. Like I know, and I have other people in my life, they're under 5 feet. Like our bodies are so different and are in every single way that like I always like to make sure to test things on extremes too, because like I know that I'm always going to add some extra length for Anna or my other friend, but I want it to be like closer to what Anna would need rather than, closer to someone who is shorter or smaller, because I'd rather, you can always take things in, you can always make things shorter, but you can't add length, you can't add more ease within a sleeve or something. So it is, I definitely have fit testers that I work with a lot in Portland. But I also will do it and send it to other people and just be like, can you just let me know after a while? And I think something that is always interesting to me, people are always like, oh, like I would love to be a fit model, like let me know anything. And I'm like, being a fit model is not glamorous. Being a fit model is not actually like public facing. Being a fit model is not actually,
That fun.
unless you are really interested in like super excited about fashion and construction and like garment construction and in technical design, it's kind of boring because you're just standing there and flopping your body around in weird ways and telling them how things are fitting. And like we really appreciate people that do that, but also I think it's that's the one thing that's always so interesting to me, because people be like, oh, I'd love to be a fit model. I'm like, I think you actually want to be like a runway or a, lookbook model or something else. But yeah, I definitely try to I find for me that I try not to be so, a lot of big brands will be like, this is the exact order that every single thing happens. This is how we make something. It is the same every single time. And for me, I mean, it's probably because, hello, I'm neurospicy and have raging ADHD. Like I can't, yes, sometimes, yes, some things and routines are very important. But when it comes to design and that whole process, I'm like, Sometimes I will know exactly what I want and then I'll go and find the fabric and then I'll figure out the fit and then I'll do this. Sometimes I'll like figure out the fit and then one day be like, oh, I guess I should find fabric about this. And like, there's things that I developed that have never seen the light of day that have been there for like 4 years. And then there's things that I'm like, oh, I made this 10 minutes ago and I just made one. And now I have to go back and make the pattern and like do everything backwards. So I know that sounds kind of chaotic, but it works for me.
Well, and I think it makes it, I think when the bigger the team, the harder it is to like change systems, right? So you're constantly like making micro system adjustments so that everybody, depending on how big the team, because you have relative teams based on availability, things like that. So it's like you're able to be more agile and you're able to be like, okay, I can make this, and if someone needs it longer, they can, reach out and I can make that adjustment. Whereas like if I'm talking to a Torrid, they can't do that. And if they sell out, I can't be like, well, can I have it in a different fabric? Which is, I think, something so cool that you do, is like you work with people, because someone might see a dress that they love the cut, but it's like, I would never wear that pattern or those colors. And you're like, great, what colors do you like? Or here's like 12 to pick from. And then it's like, okay, now I have a custom dress that I didn't even realize I could have, which feels special no matter what. And regarding fit modeling, I do it. It's like you becoming the face of Copper Union because you had to. I do it in that same way of like, I have this 5X, 6X body, like, let's use it so that we can get things. But I'm always like, but I shouldn't be your standard model because I'm so tall and I don't. And so I think people do think that it's like, that's the nuts and bolts that is so important, but it isn't that fun.
Yeah.
And
Well, and it's hilarious because like there is no standard in plus. There is no standard in plus. I can repeat that until I can't speak anymore. And so I think it's so interesting that companies will be like, oh, this is our fit model. I'm like, cool, that doesn't fit anybody else. And so for me, I'm like, I always want to make sure that I'm testing out all different kinds of bodies and all different kinds of heights and different shapes, and especially within one size, those things, because it varies so much. And um it is really important to me. Like I love that I get to help people find their style, but I also love that they get to influence me with what their style is and what their like is and their likes are. And um yeah, it's something that I would say that that's probably like another thing that I love the most about my work, is like being able to make little people's fashion dreams come true, because really, like, we're all talking to our 8 to 12-year-old selves here, let's be honest.
do you get, so this is, I think, something that I know the answer, but I want you to say it. So does it annoy you when people ask you like a fit or fabric questions? Like, say they're ordering online and they're like, go into your Instagram DMs and they're like, I don't know what size to get. Here's the measurements. Like, is that something that you're like happy to do, or is that annoying?
No, you can send me an Instagram message, you can text the shop phone number, you can email me. I love that, because what not I don't want to say it's annoying. What is just like a little like, huh, to me is when someone orders something and does have all those questions or does want all those answers, but doesn't feel comfortable, or, however, they don't want to ask it. And then they're disappointed with what they have. I don't want you to be disappointed. And so I would much rather have you communicate with me up front. Like I am happy to, my assistant Katrina is happy to, like anybody who you would interact with within the Copper Union world is more than happy to provide any of that information. And I feel like that's how it should be with all brands, because like, what is the point of trying to have happy customers if you're not gonna have easy communication?
Exactly. I love that. And I think like I know that you really care about your customers. Like, they're not just checks coming in, right? They're like, you get excited. And I think that's the other thing that's fun is you will repost people wearing different things, like how they style it. And so I always love to see on the feed, like, oh, cute. Like I would have never put that together, but I love it. And so if you have anything Copper Union, tag them and then you can
Mhm.
see
Yes,
them.
please. Always. I love uh my brain, just because my brain lives on Instagram. Instagram calls it user generated content. And like, I'm not trying to get it as content. I'm trying to get it as the like joy to fill my heart back up because I get to see all of you wearing pieces and loving them. And I agree with Anna. Like, I'm like, oh, I never would think about putting those two together. Or like, especially when I get to, I am very fortunate that I have a lot of customers who are wonderful and love to support small, indie, sustainable businesses. And so it like brings me such great joy to be like, oh my God, your outfit. I love that dress for me. And I love those taggings. And I love like, you know, the jacket that you're wearing from Nettle. And like, I love this. And like, it just is so fun because we don't get to see that and we don't get to express that in the same way that standard size, straight size people do of like, you know, I've watched my girlfriends be like, oh, I was totally going to get that jacket from blah, blah, blah. And I didn't get it. And like just having those interactions, I'm always like, oh, yeah, me too. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have that of just being like getting excited about fashion with other fatties that love fashion is wonderful.
And that's my favorite thing about the shop is that like growing up, I have so many visceral memories of being like, I guess I'll just look at these accessories because
I
nothing.
can't wait to touch this purse again.
Yeah. Oh wow, it's still here, the same purse that I saw last time. And I would act so excited because I'd be like, oh wow, this purse. And it's fun because I don't even look at the access. I'm like, I don't have time for these accessories. And I think that is like such a it's like a simple pleasure. You just don't think about it until you have a moment of it. And then you're like, wow, that really made my day. Like, I love that caftan. And I think it is so interesting how, like, nobody really sees it. It's my, it's the house caftan. And
Mhm.
by the way, I need you to make some, a drop of flannel. That sounds amazing.
It is. I made it for last year. My three best friends from college, we all were costume design majors together, and we met at my family's cabin and had a weekend together because we all live all over the country. And I was like, what do I want to make? What do I want to make? And I was like, a flannel caftan. And so we had like, if you want to eat an edible and scroll back really far on the Instagram, you'll find a ridiculous reel of us all dancing in our matching caftans. They are not internet people in the way that I have to be for work. And so I was like, please, you just will like make my heart explode if you could wear these. And I made us like matching headbands too. And we did it to the like the Snoopy song. Do, 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 do. I mean, I don't think it's actually Snoopy's song, but that's what I think of. But totally go. Maybe actually, you know what? I'll put that in the stories so that you don't all have to go scroll back. But yes, I do have some more flannel. It's gonna happen, but let's be honest. I'm writing you an email saying we'll circle back in January.
Great.
Because everything is that right now.
And I need something to look forward to after all of the things. So I would love to circle back then.
When it's even
Um,
more cold and more rainy in
yeah.
Portland.
Okay, so I want to open it up for our last little 15 so that everybody can ask their questions. Of course, no pressure. Folks don't have them. I could talk to Claire all day. But can you tell us, so how do we find you? How do we find the shop? Can we just walk into the shop? Give us the spiel on how to go about proper union action.
Yeah, so you can find me. Instagram is at Copper Union. Make sure you put in Copper Union, not Cooper Union. I get tagged in a lot of photos for the college. I'm not a college. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm really bad at that. I'll get back to you in January, TikTok. I am on the World Wide Web at copperunionapparel.com. Not copperunion.com. Tried to buy that. It was like $5,000. I was very poor at the time. I was like, I cannot do that. And then I randomly check back every so often. This was like 8 years ago. And I randomly check back, and I checked back like 6 months ago. It's now a pickleball place in Baltimore. So that's not me, but copperunionapparel.com. And then the shop is by appointment only. But also we do pop-ups at least once a month on the weekends. And you can go onto our website, and then there's a little thing in the menu, the drop-down menu, about making an in-person appointment. And I am willing to make appointments outside of the times that we are open or available for appointments. So you can always email me. And there's all that info's online.
Okay, great.
Not copperunion.com.
Copper-
I'm not a badminton or a pickleball, and I'm not a college.
No, you're Claire.
I'm a Claire.
Okay, I'm gonna open it up to everybody. Hi. Okay, do you have any cues?
Say that again.
So do you have any cues? Questions?
Oh yeah. So, well, I was one of those people that reached out via Instagram, and was like, "Do you customize sleeve length? Because I like longer sleeves." And it was super easy, and I got my garment with longer sleeves. It
Yay!
was awesome. Yeah.
I won't ask you publicly since this is being recorded what your Instagram handle is, but send me a message tomorrow, because I'm like,
Okay.
I know people by their Instagram faces, not
Yeah.
by their human faces, which I know is ridiculous, but
Well,
I'm
I don't mind. I'm at Fatsy Klein
oh, yes, I know you.
with some underscores in there somewhere.
Well, great. I'm so glad that you enjoy your custom length. Yeah, it is something that like we will always happily do, and like we will ask you a lot of questions about it because we always want to make sure that it fits right,
Yeah.
especially because we are a small business that has a return policy that is not everything and everyone. We're not Amazon or Nordstrom. But we also want to make it right for you. So I'm glad to hear that it was right.
Yeah. And like, I think it's the Audrey Joy. I think
Mhm.
is the uh, pattern. And like, yeah, I was one of those kids that like, growing up, I could never find anything that fit. But if I did, it would have like, like flowers and rhinestones and other kind of garish things. And I've just been more of like a gender kind of dresser. But I also really like pattern, especially when it's kind of like retro-y pattern. And I've just never had the ability to find that kind of stuff that would fit me. So it was like, Looney Tunes, the wolf, and like his eyes like turn into big hearts. Like as soon as I saw that Audrey Joy dress, that's what happened.
It is an amazing fabric. It is one of our top sellers.
Oh, nice.
But it just is, it's yeah. It was one that it was the first it was the first item I made. So during the pandemic, I made masks for a very, very long time. And that was like, I literally switched my whole business to masks, and like had a few things that I would sell online, but really I had to focus on that because I couldn't work with my production team. But the first item I designed was the Joy crop top. The dress is named the Audrey Joy, but they're the same fabric. And so it was the Joy crop top. And I was so excited to actually make something else besides a mask. And it has become like one of my favorite all-time fabrics. It's actually a quilting company that I get the fabric from, that they're print on demand. And so I like that model, that they're not like carrying a bunch of inventory, but they will like print on demand for you. It's not Spoonflower, which is another one, but that's like very expensive. But they work with independent artists. And so I love that I can find cool patterns that are supporting independent artists, but also are like a reorderable thing, because a lot of things in my business, because it's dead stock, I can't reorder. And so it's always nice to have something. The Joy fabric is like #1 heart fabric.
Yeah. If someone likes a fabric that you have, but not necessarily the style of the garment, you can like customize. Oh my God,
Oh
that's
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, so there's links, I think right now, for custom crop top, custom shirt dress, custom tie dress and
Okay.
custom Katie dress. So basically, like how that works is you'll purchase one of those, and obviously, like feel free to send me any questions. Anybody can ask things before they make a purchase. But you can purchase one of those, and then we have a Zoom or a phone call or an exchange of email and pictures if you don't want to be on the phone. And I play that game of tell me what you don't like, and then I'll send you. I have a scary amount of fabric. Let's just be honest. I'm doing a giant studio reorganization right now. I'm like, how do I just keep finding fabric in places? So yes, but if you totally like, I say yes and slash but sometimes I will produce everything I have of that fabric. If I only have 30 yards of it, I'll make everything. So there are some few times that I'll be like, sorry, I literally don't have any more. But for the majority of it, yes, we can totally make that happen. And I think you would be happy to know that I've had a gigantic buttonhole machine saga for about a year now, but finally my new buttonhole machine got safely delivered today, which means the button up is coming in early 2024. I designed it almost 3 years ago, and there's been a buttonhole saga forever, but it is a button up that is designed and cut with hips, but not in like a 90s mom way, but like in a I form fit and look real nice on your body, but I'm not too tight on your hips way.
And not too femmy. I love that.
It's coming out in strawberries first.
Oh my gosh. Adorable.
I didn't say that.
Hot off the press. We're hearing it here first.
I am the press.
Strawberries. Claire, we got like 8 more minutes. What are some of the challenges? Because I made a dress with Ali Hollow once. It was the best learning experience and horribly sad because I learned some tough lessons, and it was a cool dress.
It was beautiful.
Thank you. What are some things? Because the biggest lesson I learned was if you don't want people to inhumanely create your garments, you have to pay them well. And paying someone well means you have to make that garment more expensive. And then when someone hears a ticket price of, $200, say, for a completely handmade luxury dress, they freak out because maybe they are used to like a Target or a Walmart or an ASOS where you could get it for 50, 30, 20, 15 on sale, I think it would be great to hear from you what you might tell people so that they understand why.
I mean, who's ready for this soapbox I'm about to climb up on? Yes, so it is, like Anna said, it is impossible to create garments that are actually affordable in that way without someone suffering in some way, financially, physically, mentally. And I don't want to put that out there in a way to shame people, because I know that fat phobia is real. Fat phobia is very real in the workplace, and fat people are not paid as much as their counterparts, and fat people don't have the opportunities, and they don't have, I could go on and on about that side of the fat politics, but that part of fat politics plays into fat fashion a lot and plays into fast fashion. So yes, my prices can seem intimidating to some people. I do offer afterpay, or I offer, like, if you need to slide into my DMs and be like, I will work with people when I have the capability and flexibility to do that. But like I understand that can be intimidating, but at the same time, I pay every single person I encounter a living wage. There are multiple people that touch the garments that work with every single aspect of it, and it's important to me that everyone is compensated fairly. And I think that a lot of people will look into like clothing design, be like, well, I'm not seeing what I want in the world, so I'm just going to create it. And would you say that about a wedding photo shoot? Would you say that about a complicated website? Would you say that about how to, do repairs on a car? Majority of those things, no, because you don't actually have those skills or education or experience background. And I think that that's something that people look at sewing as a hobby, a craft, something that, your grandma did, something that like, well, I could figure that out. And it's like, you could figure that out, but to run a successful clothing company and business in that way, it's so much more than that. It's any small business owner will tell you that you have to wear a million different hats and you have to do so many different things, and you have to do all of them as well as possible. And that's exhausting, and that is not something that is sustainable. Like, the reason that I have been able to make it to the place that I am is because of the people that have helped my business and helped create all of this and helped with it. And like, I did start it on my own, but I am at a point now that like I have to have people and different teams to support different aspects of it. And I think that it is just you don't go into indie clothing design or into fashion unless you're going into fast fashion to become rich, to be like, this is not a place that you come to make money, let me tell you. And that's, I think, a big misconception is people see price tags of clothing, they're like, oh, well, they just like, they're just rolling around like Scrooge McDuck in gold coins. And it's like, no, technically, based on margins and like formulas and things that are already established in the fashion world, my clothing is not actually even as much as it should be. But like, I try not to should myself or my people. And so I try to find that balance of being able to create a space that I know is not necessarily accessible for everyone, but at the same time, like honoring all of the work, the time, the energy, the effort, the education, the background, the experience that is put into those garments that makes them fit and makes them work on fat bodies in the way that they should. So it's, I think that it is just something that a lot of people don't understand, that, yeah, you could create one thing that fits your body really well, but that doesn't mean it's going to fit every single other body. And that doesn't mean that you're actually gonna be able to create hundreds of those. And that doesn't mean like we can go down this line continuously. And it's just, it's not easy. It's not glamorous. It's not always fun, but knowing that I am doing something for the community is so important to me. And it's so important to me to bring others into that community and to bring us together in ways that is surrounded by fashion. Like, something that I'm realizing this moment as I'm talking out loud that I didn't even mention is Knockout. And that is a fat fashion show and pop-up clothing shopping event that I do here in Portland. We just had our 4th year in October. And that is, if I had 2 hearts to live outside my body, Copper Union, Knockout. But it just is, it's so important to be able to see that, but also to be able to realize and see the effort that so many clothing brands are putting into their companies so that all of us can have amazing things. And I think, like, hello, me turning the mirror on you, our sweet dear Anna Chapman, same way of like, you are doing things for the community. I know, because I know you behind the scenes and I know you as a real human and I love you. And like, what you are doing for people, what so many people in our community do for our community for no compensation, little compensation, or like just heart compensation, is amazing. And like, that's why I'm so grateful for like radical, amazing fat people. Because our ability and the amount that we can hold space for others, I think, is really special and fatter than other people's.
We're real fat around here.
Mhm.
Our hearts are too.
Uh-huh.
One, I think the thing, like even just earlier, you're like, we have a button machine, and because of that, like, and I know that there's only like one other button machine in Portland, and I know that, all of that, like, when you look at a button up, right? To make a shirt look like a button up you would buy at Nordstrom or a button up store, you
The
cannot use
button-up store.
like
Let's go there.
okay, tell me how many machines you need to make that garment.
Um, yeah, let's play that game. So, I mean, you would I have a button mounting machine. I have a buttonhole machine. I have a regular straight stitch machine. I would have a serger. And depending on what it is made out of, I might have to use a cover stitch machine, which you use on knits. Um, then
That's not even
there's
the pattern
yeah,
that you had to that took a whole program, a whole pattern printer. Okay. So you
yeah,
see,
like there's a lot of machine. Like I have a small factory. I will
okay.
tell you that because I just pushed all of those machines around the last 2 days and reorganized the whole thing. Like Anna, your mind is gonna be blown when you
I
come
can't
into the studio next. You'll be like, because I literally walked in today, I was like, I don't put my purse here. Where's my desk? What am I doing?
wait.
Like, yeah, but it is definitely people don't actually understand the amount of time and effort that goes into clothing, and also that the majority of clothing, nothing is actually robotic. Like when you see any crocheted garment, when you see a crocheted vest at Forever 21 for $11, someone made that by hand. That's not made by a machine, it's not made by a robot. Like someone made that by hand. And majority of clothing is that way. Some things can be automated, some things can happen. Yes, machines are used with humans, but everything is made by hand. Everything is touched by hand in every single, like, in the whole entire life cycle of the garment. So it's not something that is just like, oh, we pushed a button, walked away, and then we came back and there was a t-shirt there. Like,
And if
it,
you're paying $15 for a garment that has 12 steps and 12 people that touched it, they're making less than $1 on that thing that took them all,
they're
whatever.
making pennies if they're
Exactly.
lucky. Like most production places at that level are doing it by piece, or they're doing it, by the week or by the hour. And like, if you don't hit those minimum, like, it's appalling what garment workers are paid around the world. It's terrifying. They're not actually like paid. Like they're
Yeah, they're exploited in there, and it's like they're trying to survive, so they're doing that, and it is wrong.
yeah, it is wrong. Comma. I also understand that that is the only reality and the only choice for some people. And I don't ever want to create a space that I am telling them they are wrong for that.
No,
But
totally. And I think that there are also businesses that outsource and have agreements and situations where people are being paid well, and the reason they're outsourcing it is because that's how they can afford it. So there's
totally.
a lot, a
Yes,
lot of
it is.
different nuances. But
We
if
could
you're buying
spend
anything from Shein, I assure you, those people are getting fucked, and stop doing that. I'm sorry. That's just from me.
it's okay. We can all have our own opinions and we can all figure out what is best for us, but also we can be aware that we want to treat humans kindly. And that includes via our clothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes from deep care, not shame. Sorry, everyone. But also, I also think that something that is not spoken about enough, and we need to go, but I want to say this, is that gather together in your community and do clothing swaps and trade clothing that you already have that you don't either doesn't fit well or you don't like it or you've outgrown it, because we don't have the oftentimes it's really grueling to go thrifting if you're not in a size that's like readily available. Like if I go, I'm stretching a 3X, right? I'm trying to see if that's gonna fit. I'm looking at purses at the Goodwill. You know what I mean? Like I'm not um so it's like, how do we as a community care for each other? And instead of putting that stuff into the Goodwill pile where they're going to resell it at a premium, give it to your friend. You're not
Or they're
getting
gonna like incinerate it, or they're gonna shred it, or they're gonna like send it somewhere where those people don't even want it.
and
Like,
it's
yeah,
just like a landfill. They're shipping it to go pollute someone's place. So
yeah,
use your, if you're a size that maybe isn't readily available and maybe like me, you overshop sometimes or overdo it, like share that around. I think it's really
totally.
important to like.
Yeah. Well, it's also like there's great resources online. One of my favorite, Sell Trade Plus, they're on Instagram. They do mostly like sustainable, smaller indie brands, and it's just people, it's a very simple process that you can go follow them and do it, but like the person who runs it posts your photos. I think they take like $1 or $2 per item, and then you get to set the price, you get to sell your piece, you get to pick randomly the winner. People just comment with their zip codes, and like it's a great way to be able to try brands too that you might not be able to get because people are usually selling them at a discount. And then also like, Poshmark, which like my neurospicy brain has a little bit of a hard time navigating Poshmark land, and um but you can find things on there, or yeah, going to clothing swaps.
Secondhand there also, I've gotten a few things and they go up to like 8x.
Yeah, and also like Plus Brooklyn does Instagram live sales, and there's other resellers in some major cities that you can totally go to. But yeah, I think it's important to be able to share, even if you have garments that don't work for you or your body, there is someone out there, and really like keeping them within our communities and in but also I think another, like in Portland we have a place called Rosehaven that's a daytime shelter for people and like community care space, and they love donations from plus size companies and people. And we did a big closet sale a little bit earlier this year, and we brought a carload of stuff afterwards to them, and like that that is going directly to people that need it the most, because trying to be a plus size person who is houseless or is in transition, it's impossible for you to find things for your body. So it is definitely something that I really advocate for too.
And I'm gonna say one more thing.
Say it.
I think it's important that we, especially I've noticed with like having like everything that's going on in Palestine and like having these pauses of shopping and things like that. It's like your dollars have power, and so like shopping local and like maybe you have less, you get less things back for your money, but like things that are, I have copper union pieces from like the first time we met years and years and years ago, and those are still at like, as long as I don't overwash or dry them, they are they're an amazing quality. They were made well. Um and I know if I needed an alteration, I could go into the store or figure it out. Like that, when you use your money and support small businesses, you get to have the benefit of like knowing who you're supporting, getting like customizations if you need them, and also like I know that my garment isn't gonna go in a landfill because I bought that thing and I really cherish it, and then when it's done, I can pass it on because I know it's still gonna last. And I think that's like so important. And so maybe it's, you know, I think we get into a mindset that like we need more and more and more. And I get it myself, and we don't. And we can wear and style things in different ways and wear them, you know, in different seasons. Like I'm out here wearing caftan in the winter.
Mm-hmm. I'm wearing a summer dress in the winter. Like, yeah, I am someone who during the pandemic, I actually expanded my own closet with Copper Union because I never made things for myself. I never kept things. I never, like, my partner would be like, why don't you wear more of your stuff? And then finally, when I had to become the main model and I had to take photos and have things. And like now every day I wear it, because I used to, before, someone be like, would hear, oh, she's a clothing designer. I'm like, oh, I love your dress. And then I'd be like, did you make that? I'm like, no, I got it at Target 12 years ago. And like
I remember
legit,
those days. You would not
like
wear
that's,
anything you made.
it was embarrassing. And
I would
like,
be like, no, I'm wearing copper union.
yeah, yeah. And so now it's great to be like, yeah, this is mine. And yeah, this, like, and you can have it too, fat person. And so I think right now it is something that I know across the board. I have a lot of friends in numerous areas of small business, and everyone is hurting, everyone is scared, everyone is tender, everyone is having a very hard time. But everyone also doesn't want to bombard you with that on the internet. Some people are putting it out there, and that is totally their choice and totally fine. And but to other people that's not comfortable, or other people that's not the vulnerability that they want to have. And also we know that people don't want that all over them, of everyone's sad energy. And so people will be like, oh, blah blah blah's killing it online, have you seen that? And it's like, in reality, it's like, no, they're crying behind the dance.
You're surviving right
And
now, actually.
yeah, and it's your dollars, where you put your dollars is so important. And if you can invest it within your community, or within, and I'm not just saying like physical community, I'm speaking of community online, in the world, wherever you find your community. It's super important, because we, beyond me feeling that, I want to have the opportunity to be able to be with people in person and have the shop, but it's like, everyone deserves that space, and we need to have that space, and we need to hold those spaces precious. And like right now, it's a time that people really need that, and need small businesses need the love.
Yeah.
But they also, like, we don't want to sound like we're begging or annoying on the internet, but it's the reality. It's a scary world in so many different ways right now. So yeah,
just on your small
showing up with your love
business.
is real important.
Yeah, and just, you don't have to be political, but use your dollars in a political way, and what you care about, invest in it, because that's the only way we keep having these spaces that feel really safe for us, that are, on the fringes of diet culture. So that's wonderful. Okay, we ran over because we got excited, but Claire, thank you so much for coming for our last fat friend chat of 2023.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Well,
love
thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. I could literally talk about all of this all day.
And we do often. So, tune into Fat Self-Care, because we be talking about this. Thank you for coming.
You don't know my body, don't tell me how it works now. I will not say sorry for how I make it work out. No, I let myself, all my cards run fast.